Right, we're going to move on to question 2 now. Still on chemical changes, and we're looking at acids and alkalines. So, looking at this question, it says acids react to produce salts. Universal indicator is added to water, and then nitric acid is added to this mixture. Give the color change when nitric acid is added to the mixture of universal indicator and water. So first of all, we know that we're looking at UI indicator, and that produces different colors, different pHs. When we add acid and alkalines to it, it's probably that's highlight and identify what it's going from. It's going from water to acid. So it's added to the water first. The indicator is added to the water first. And water has a pH of 7. pH 7. And that is usually green. And then it's then added to nitric acid, which then goes from pH to pH 1 to 6, and that's red. So we'll look at our answers here, tick one box, and then we're looking from green to red, green to red. So when you're doing these questions, just make sure you read it carefully, you know where it's going from which, and you label which colours it is on the pH scale, and identify them on the pH as well. It's quite often they ask you what's going changing from one to the other, especially when it's talking about weak acids and strong acids, or acid and bases. But our next question, what happens to the pH of water when nitric acid is added? So, like I said before, we labelled it pH 7, pH 1 to 6. It's going from water to acid, so therefore it will decrease. Next question below. It says, what is the state symbol for nitric acid? So we're looking at the state symbol, and it is a symbol. So nitric acid is usually dissolved in water, and this is known as aqueous. Now, because it's asking for a symbol, you can't write the word aqueous. So writing aqueous, you won't get a mark. We're expecting to write the symbol that's written in the equation, which would be A and Q. If it was liquid and asked for the state symbol of liquid, it would be L. So for the others, for example, liquid is L, solid is S, gas is G. Because it's state symbol, it's specifically asking for this particular part. So writing the word, even though it's correct, that is a G. Even though it's correct, you won't get the mark. It has to be the symbol itself. Right, our next question. Now we're going to use the equation for the next question. It says here, zinc carbonate reacts with nitric acid, and this is the word equation. Zinc carbonate is a white solid, nitric acid, adds nitric acid to it, goes colourless solution, then there's water and carbon dioxide. So because it's got carbonate in it, we should know that this produces CO2. CO2 is a gas, so it's going to be fizzy or produce bubbles in the reaction. We know it's going from white to colourless. Now, because there is a solid, we have to assume at the end of the reaction, this solid may be left at the bottom. At the bottom, if not fully reacted. Right, let's go to the question. So scroll down. We should focus again in a second. There we go. Right, the next question, it says, give 2 observations that would be made when zinc carbonate is added to nitric acid until the zinc carbonate is in excess. So, in excess is our key word. So the first thing that's going to happen, as we mentioned earlier when we looked at our equation, zinc carbonate will cause fizzing, blink. One of our other observations we talked about a moment ago, and it was on the here. Focusing for a second. It goes from white to colourless. So we can also say it changes from white to colourless. Now, I was asking for excess. I mean, I said this was probably mostly part one, but first point. And we would say if it's in excess, there will be white solid left over at the bottom. The reason why we add in excess, right up here, the reason why we add in excess is actually so ensure the reaction is completely taking place. So we do this to ensure that all the reactants have reacted with each other. It also allows for maximum amount of product also. Right, going to our next question, we're going to be looking at ionic compounds. So with this question, it says the formula, we have a zinc ion, which is a Zn2, and we have a formula for nitric ion, which is NO3 minus, and it then wants you to do the formula. So if we look at the charges, I'll write that here, Zn2 plus, and then we have NO3 minus. Now, we want to balance it out so we have a 0 charge on this compound. When compounds are joined together, elements are joined together to form a compound, they form a 0 charge, making that compound neutral. So at the moment, we've got a charge of 2 and then a charge of -1 here. And we want to make it neutral compound. So if we look at 2, I need one more of the nitric to cancel it out. So if I write NO3 here, or minus NO3, and now I need 2 of these to cancel out the 2 plus. So the formula will now be Zn, and because I've got 2, and it's a compound, you write them in brackets, NO3, not minus, bracket, and 2. So the answer will be the bottom one here, Zn2, NO3, 2. Right, on to the final part of the question. We're looking at another 6 marker. I kind of kept in the theme of looking at extended writing, as it is a big part of the chemical sciences. I mean, not chemical sciences, chemical changes. Right, this question, okay, we are looking at acids react with insoluble metal oxides. So we've got acid reacts with an insoluble metal oxide to produce a salt. This is plan, a method. So like I mentioned in my earlier video, when it says plan, it wants steps. This could be bullet points, that's accepted, or a flowing paragraph. Steps and bullet points are probably easier. Allows you to see each step individually. Right, back to the question. So plan the method to produce a pure dry sample. So it says dry sample of a soluble salt using copper. I'm going to underline instead for this bit of copper chloride from a metal oxide. And I know looking at that, you're going to be like, what chemicals am I using? I've only got one I've got the product. What do I do? And I've not used copper chloride before. I've only ever used copper sulfate. It's the same idea, same practical as the making salts practical. So this practical is known as making salts. You might also refer to it as the blue crystal practical. But copper chloride, this is still blue crystals. It's the same thing, just like they changed the word to chloride. And what they want to do is to test if you know that the different acids can be used to make different salts. So let's have a think now about what we need to make our different products from copper sulfate. So I'm going to put usually copper sulfate. So to make a chloride, we need to think of our acid first. So chloride, we need hydrochloric acid. I'm going to write here hydrochloric acid. And I want copper at the end. They give me an oxide. So it must be hydrochloric acid and copper oxide. Now I've got my chemicals, and that's one of the key things is knowing our chemicals. Our next bit is starting to write our plan. I'm going to switch to blue now. Hopefully you can see on the visualizer. So going to, firstly, step one, we need to warm the acids in a small beaker. For a moment, I think I'm missing something really important. I'm missing the amount. So let's write, we're going to write warm the acid in a small beaker. I've missed a step, so we want to measure how much. So small beaker, I'm going to write it up here. So measure So measure 25 centimeter cubed of hydrochloric acid with a measuring cylinder. That's my first step. So I'm going to number one. We're going to warm it in the acid in a small beaker. We could do it before. You can actually warm up the acid in a small beaker in a water bath and then measure it out. Either way, you can have either. But I wanted you to have a think as well. So warm the acid in a small beaker. We're going to say water bath. In a water bath. You can heat it over a Bunsen as well, if you wish, with tripod and gauze. But you get the same effect just doing it in a water bath as well. So kettle of hot water into a beaker and then measure out your 25 mils into like a boiling tube and then place it into the hot water bath. You just need to warm it a little bit just to promote the reaction. So we measured it with measuring cylinder. We've warmed it up now as well. Our next step, step 3, we're going to add a spatula at a time of copper oxide. Now it does say here in excess. So I need an excess of copper oxide. So add a spatula at a time until it doesn't dissolve any more. And that is in excess. So that itself is explaining what is in excess. And that's one part of the question. So that means in excess. Now, the other part of the question, it mentions it wants a dry sample. So let's get back onto what we do next. So once you put everything in, we're going to have to stir it. So you just stir. So we stir it. It will go blue. So till it goes bright blue. And the powder is left on the bottom. And that's another prompt for you to understand that saying this, like there's powder left on the bottom, it is also understanding the term that it's also in excess. So the bit here, this is also a prompt to say in excess, and you understand the term of why we do this in chemistry. Right, so now we mixed everything, everything's stirred in with our powders at the bottom of our beaker. We need to filter it, so our step 5, filter it. Filter it with, like previously in my last video, we're going to say what we're going to do, and then what we're going to do with. Filter it, and it's with filter paper and a funnel. So once it's filtered, we pour the leftover solution into an evaporation dish. 7. We're going to heat it gently. Heat it gently till it's partially evaporated. And this is over a Bunsen. So we don't evaporate the whole thing over the Bunsen. We only heat it for a bit, evaporate it a little bit, just to help the reaction. And then we leave it to cool and crystallize. And then we'll get nice big crystals. So, and that's the method. Now, we're just going to look at the diagram. So what they might show you sometimes if you get this question, I'm just scroll up, you might get a series of equipment. Just ignore this bit for now. You might see equipment such as beaker over tripod. And you might see things like the evaporating dish and your filter paper and funnel. And these might be given as images to you in the exam, in the chemistry. And then when you see these images, they're asking you about this particular practical making salts. So there's 2 or 3 ways they might show you this practical. They might ask you and how to do this practical and show you the equipment. They might ask you a question like we got up here and give you a similar reaction to what you already know, ask you to apply your knowledge to the chemicals. They might sometimes use a different oxide. So it's either going to be a different acid or it's a different metal oxide. So this could say magnesium sulfate, for example, and you know sulfate's blue, and this could be magnesium oxide. So there is sometimes a reverse of that. Right. Anyway, that's the end of my video. Thank you for listening, everybody.